Blood-red lipstick on crisp white cotton. That's what ended my marriage. Not with a scream. Not with a bang. But with the silent horror of discovery, as I stood frozen in our walk-in closet, Justin's dress shirt dangling from my trembling fingers. I remember the exact moment perfectly. Tuesday, 9:17 a.m. The twins were at school, Grace at her piano lesson. Outside, the October rain tapped against our bedroom windows in a soft, steady rhythm, like it was mocking the thunder in my chest. I was just gathering clothes for the dry cleaner when I noticed Justin's gym bag, tucked behind his polished rows of leather shoes. The zipper was slightly open. Inside was the crumpled shirt he'd supposedly worn to last night's emergency surgery. But the stain. It wasn't blood. No surgeon walks into an or wearing a shade of crimson like that. I held the shirt to my face. Inhaled. And beneath his familiar cologne was something else. Vanilla. Jasmine. Not mine. Never mine. I just stood there heart pounding, as 15 years of marriage collapsed into a single, damning piece of evidence. Dr. Justin Harper, respected cardiothoracic surgeon. My husband. Father of our 3 children. He had another woman's lips on his clothes. And just like that, the carefully constructed life I thought we had shattered. Like fine crystal, smashing against marble tile. The irony? For years, Justin's colleagues called us the perfect Harpers. Him, the calm, brilliant surgeon saving lives. Me, the loyal wife, always by his side. Our home in Ashton Hill was a showcase. Cathedral ceilings. Custom hardwood. A chef's kitchen I'd designed myself, right after Justin made partner. We built everything together, or so I thought. Since med school. Residency. His rise to the top. Looking back, the signs were there. Flashing red. But I was too determined to look away. He started working later. Said the hospital was short-staffed. Weekend golf trips with colleagues popped up more often. Our conversations got shorter, colder. It was all logistics now, the kids' schedules, household repairs, planning social events to boost his career. The late-night talks, the laughter, the dreams, faded so slowly I barely noticed they were gone. Last spring, when Justin was promoted to chief of cardiothoracic surgery, I threw him a surprise party. Weeks of planning. Catering from his favorite steakhouse, handwritten notes from patients whose lives he'd saved. He smiled for the cameras, arm wrapped around me. But that night? You should have checked with me first, Elaine, he said, coldly loosening his tie. These are professional relationships, not friendships. Then he slept in the guest room, said he was tired. And I lay in our bed, tracing the empty space beside me. Pretending it didn't mean anything. It's the pressure, I told my sister, Carolyn, over the phone the next day. Pacing the sunroom while golden afternoon light spilled across the floor. The promotion, it's just a lot. Men in power often change, Elaine, she said quietly. Her voice lined with the weight of her own failed marriage. Watch yourself. I waved it off. Called her cynical. After all, we had history. 3 amazing kids. A life built on sacrifice and shared dreams. But the space between us kept growing. When I reached for him, Justin turned away. Said he was tired. Long surgeries. I bought new lingerie. Planned date nights. Did everything those glossy magazines recommend to keep the spark alive. He went along with it barely. Checking his phone all through dinner. Mine somewhere else entirely. Is everything okay between us? I asked one night, after he barely touched the herb-crusted salmon I made, his favorite. The candlelight danced across his face, but his eyes never met mine. Just tired, Elaine, he muttered. The Jenkins case is complicated. Then he disappeared into his home office. Closed the door. Took calls in hushed tones, all night long. And I believed in trust. I believed in privacy. Checking his phone? Snooping? That was for insecure women. Not Elaine Harper, the perfect wife, who held everything together so her brilliant husband could keep saving lives. Then came our 15th anniversary. I planned a romantic weekend getaway to Napa where we honeymooned. All I needed was to check his schedule. His phone was on the kitchen counter. He was in the shower. Just one quick look to make sure he was free. That's all I meant to do. Then the screen lit up. Rachel Winters. Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you. When will it be just us? My hands started to shake as I opened the message thread. Hundreds of texts. 8 months worth. Photos. Plans made while I was shuttling Grace to recitals, helping the twins with science projects. And then this. Justin. Elaine's planning some big anniversary surprise. Rachel. Poor thing. Still thinks there's something to celebrate. I set the phone down. Quietly. Made his coffee just like always, 2 sugars, splash of cream. Kissed him goodbye. That scent I once loved, his aftershave, now made me sick to my stomach. And as soon as the door closed behind him, I ran to the bathroom and threw up until there was nothing left. Just bitter bile. And tears that wouldn't stop falling. That night after the kids had gone to bed. Their soft breathing down the hallway like a lullaby in a war zone. I finally asked him. In our bedroom, the one where we made our children mourn miscarriages healed after my father died. Are you sleeping with Rachel Winters? My voice didn't shake, but inside, I was breaking into pieces. Justin didn't even flinch. He took off his watch and set it down on the nightstand, same slow, deliberate motion I'd seen for 15 years. The heavy gold timepiece I gave him when he finished residency landed with a soft thud on the wood. Yes. Just one word. Flat. Emotionless. How long? I asked, my nails digging into my palms. Does it matter? He looked at me with a coldness I didn't recognize. I want to divorce Elaine. It wasn't a confession. It was an execution. Why? I whispered, the word catching in my throat. I've outgrown this life. Outgrown us. He glanced around the room like it was a prison cell, not the sanctuary we'd built together. I've given 15 years to this marriage. To these kids. I'm 45. If I'm gonna start over, it has to be now. Start over? Justin, we built this life together. Everything you are, everything I am? His laugh was sharp. Cruel. I save lives, Elaine. Every day. What do you do? Bake cookies for the PTA? Organize my sock drawer? I built this life in spite of the anchor of domesticity. Each word hit like a punch to the gut. I put my own teaching career on hold so he could chase his dream. Raised our kids. Managed our home. Hosted dinner parties for hospital bigwigs, crafted the perfect image that helped him rise. You'll be taken care of financially, he added, like we were negotiating a contract. The children will adjust. Kids always do. That night, he slept in the guest room. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, tracing the maple tree's shadow as it danced across the plaster. I kept asking myself, had any of it been real? At dawn, he left for the hospital. And on the kitchen counter, next to the coffee maker, he left a business card. His lawyers. Just like that, the perfect life I thought we had vanished. The cracks were always there. I'd just been too loyal to see them. I thought the worst part was the affair. The lipstick. The lies. But that was just the opening act. A distraction from the betrayal that was deeper, colder, and far more calculated. The very next day, I booked a meeting with Amanda Sullivan, the most ruthless divorce attorney in Ashton Hill. Her office downtown was sleek, all glass and steel. Her handshake? Like granite. Document everything, she said, voice clipped, focused. Especially the finances. That night, after I tucked the kids in with soft reassurances that Daddy's just working late, I opened the safe in Justin's office. 15 years of paperwork. Tax returns. Deeds. Investment records. I sat there under the soft glow of my desk lamp, and the truth started surfacing. Dark threads unraveling a tapestry I thought was flawless. Monthly withdrawals. 5,000. 7,500. 10,000. Each labeled to an LLC, Hudson and Row. No explanation. No receipts. No trail. Over 2 years, almost $250,000. Gone. The next morning, I sat in my car outside the bank, sunglasses hiding my swollen eyes, and called our account manager. He hesitated, but finally confirmed it. Hudson and Rowe? A limited liability company. Registered to Justin Harper. Only to him. What's he hiding? I asked Amanda in our follow-up. Outside her floor-to-ceiling windows, the city buzzed with people living normal lives, while mine was falling apart. She slid on a pair of narrow reading glasses and studied the printouts. Hiding assets during divorce? Unfortunately, it's common, she said. But this isn't just hiding. This is planned. Then she mentioned something I hadn't expected. Dr. Benjamin Cole, she said, setting the papers down. Used to work with your husband. Left Mercy General 3 years ago under unusual circumstances. I remembered him. Quiet. Serious. Always a little uncomfortable at hospital galas. And then just gone. Justin had brushed it off. Professional differences, he'd said. Nothing interesting. But I called anyway. It took 5 tries to find him, now running a small family clinic 40 miles outside the city. His receptionist hesitated. Until I mentioned Justin's name. Then I was transferred. Mrs. Harper. His voice was low. Steady. I've been expecting your call for years. We met at a cafe halfway between our towns. He looked older. Gray at the temples. Lines around his eyes. He ordered black coffee and stared down at his hands. I always knew this day would come, he murmured. I just didn't know which of us would break first, me with my conscience, or Justin with his arrogance. And then he told me everything. The fertility clinic at Mercy General had a problem, he said, barely above a whisper. Couples were reporting failed IVF cycles. Good candidates. No reason for failure. I started noticing irregularities. The lab reports didn't match the procedures. I clutched my untouched latte, hands shaking. That ceramic mug was the only thing keeping me grounded. We'd gone through 3 rounds of IVF to conceive the twins. Another 2 for Grace. Each failure had been devastating. Each success miraculous. I started investigating quietly, Dr. Cole continued. The clinic director, Dr. Jonathan Adler, was falsifying data. Swapping specimens. Manipulating success rates, all to protect the clinic's reputation and its funding. My heart was pounding in my chest. And Justin? I asked, barely able to speak. Dr. Cole gave a slight nod. When I confronted Adler, he admitted Justin was aware. More than aware, complicit. No. I shook my head slowly. That's impossible. Justin wanted kids. We both did. He slid a thumb drive across the table. Hospital records. Lab reports. Justin's signature authorizing procedural modifications. That's his euphemism for tampering with specimens. Including yours. I felt the floor tilt under me. Why? The word barely escaped my mouth. Why would he do this? At first. Dr. Cole sighed. For career advancement. Adler sat on the board that promoted him to chief. He paused, his coffee untouched. But in your case? He hesitated. Justin has hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a hereditary heart condition. Mild but with a 50% chance of passing it on. My blood ran cold. A surgeon with his ambitions? Dr. Cole said quietly. He couldn't risk having children with a condition that might reflect poorly on his medical judgment. It hit me like a freight train. So during our IVF cycles, when we created embryos, I couldn't even finish the sentence. Dr. Cole nodded slowly. He made sure his genetic material was never used. My voice cracked. So Owen. Chloe. Grace. They're not biologically his. He looked at me with genuine sympathy. I'm so sorry, Elaine. The room spun. I could hardly breathe. I thought of Justin holding the twins the day they were born, tears streaming down his face as he counted their tiny fingers and toes. Cutting Grace's umbilical cord, his surgeon's hands trembling. All the comments over the years, she has your eyes. He has your smile. Lies. All of it, lies. You'll need proof, Dr. Cole said gently. DNA testing. And this goes beyond just you. This clinic hurt other families too. I left the coffee shop in a daze. The autumn wind cut through my coat like I wasn't even there. People passed me on the sidewalk, chatting, smiling like my entire life hadn't just collapsed. That night, when the house was still, when the kids were tucked in, dreaming of math tests and music lessons, I sat at the kitchen table and ordered the kits. Simple cheek swabs, the site said. Results in 7 to 10 business days. The screen glowed blue in the darkened kitchen as I stared at the confirmation email. So much pain. Packaged so clinically. The waiting was torture. Meanwhile, Justin pushed the divorce forward fast. He demanded custody evaluations. Claimed I was emotionally unstable. That I couldn't provide for the kids. His lawyer sent letter after letter, trying to paint me as a burden, a nobody. Their settlement offer? Laughable. Barely enough to survive. I smiled through it all. Helped Owen build a baking soda volcano for his science fair. Braided Chloe's hair for picture day. Clapped through Grace's recital even when my hands were shaking. When other moms asked about Justin, hospital hours, I'd say with a tight smile, you know how it is. At night, I researched ethics violations in medicine and fertility fraud. What I found was horrifying. Doctors using their own sperm instead of donors. Embryo mix-ups. Parents discovering decades later that their children weren't biologically theirs. But I didn't find a case like mine. Not one. No story of a husband who deliberately created a family he wasn't biologically part of, all while pretending he was. The testing company called on a Tuesday morning. I was in the garden, trimming back the roses, dirt under my fingernails. When my phone rang, a woman's voice. Cool. Professional. We have your results, Mrs. Harper. Would you like me to email them, or would you prefer to discuss them over the phone? I didn't hesitate. Email, I whispered. I needed to see it. The report landed in my inbox minutes later. I opened it with trembling hands. The alleged father is excluded as the biological father of the tested children. The probability of paternity is 0%. I printed 3 copies. One for Amanda, one for my safety deposit box, and one that I slid into a cream-colored envelope stamped with the Mercy General Hospital logo, taken from Justin's home office when I was still pretending. My hands didn't shake anymore. The devastation had evolved. It had become sharp, precise. This wasn't just about an affair or some missing money. This was about control, about violating my right to choose. He built a lie so elaborate, so complete, that it shaped the last 15 years of my life. He decided my children's biology, without me, without discussion, without truth. He made himself look like the doting father, the sacrificial husband, all while living a lie. But now I held the truth. And that changed everything. With the DNA results in hand, my grief became a weapon. I wasn't just going to expose him. I was going to dismantle the entire illusion brick by brick. I started with the others. Dr. Cole gave me a list. 27 families who'd been patients at Mercy General under Justin's watch. Most were too afraid, too shaken, too in love with the children they'd raised to question biology. But 5 agreed to talk. The Morgans had twins who looked nothing like them. The Patels had a daughter with rare medical issues no one in their families carried. The Johnsons, the Garcias, the Wilsons, each one had a story about a miracle conception, right after Dr. Adler personally got involved in their cases. We were just so grateful, Julia Wilson told me, tears sliding down her cheeks as we sat in her sunlit kitchen. Her kids laughed in the next room, oblivious. We never questioned how it worked. We just thanked God. But I had questions. And those questions led me to Sylvia Myers. She was a former nurse who'd worked at the fertility clinic for 12 years. We met at her apartment outside the city, cluttered, quiet, surrounded by filing cabinets and cardboard boxes. I kept records of everything, she said, her hands trembling slightly as she pulled out a thick, leather-bound journal. Patient names, changes to procedure authorization signatures. They thought I was just a meticulous nurse. They underestimated me. Why didn't you report them? I asked, running my fingers along the journal's spine, feeling the weight of its secrets. She gave a bitter smile. I did. To the hospital. To the ethics board. Even the police. Every time the investigation just disappeared. Her voice dropped. Your husband has powerful friends, Mrs. Harper. She flipped to a page marked with my name, dates that matched our IVF procedures. Special instructions from Dr. Harper, she said, tapping the entry. Specimen replacement authorized due to quality concerns. No donor identification recorded. Andrew's signature was right there. I photographed everything. Every signature. Every date. Every damning note. As I packed up to leave, Sylvia slipped a business card into my hand. Agent Eric Donovan, she said softly. Medical Fraud Division. He's been trying to build a case for years. You need to talk to him. And I did. Agent Donovan confirmed everything I feared. The investigation into Mercy General's fertility clinic was just one part of a much bigger probe. Into medical fraud, financial crimes, and cover-ups. And Justin was right in the middle. We've been watching Dr. Harper for some time, Donovan told me during our meeting in a bare government office downtown. Rain streaked the windows behind him as he laid out the scope. But we needed someone close. Someone with access to personal records. Testimony. I nodded. I'm in. I became the woman Justin expected to see, the quiet, agreeable ex-wife. I smiled in mediation, agreed to temporary custody plans, pretended to consider the insulting financial settlement he'd offered. You're being surprisingly reasonable, Justin said after one meeting, narrowing his eyes at me. I gave a soft smile. The children come first. I just want what's best for everyone. He relaxed. His confidence bloomed. He brought Rachel to school functions, introduced her to our friends, had her sleep over when the kids were at his apartment. And all the while, I built my case. I recorded our conversations, photographed documents, tracked money transfers. But then things took an unexpected turn. I hired a private investigator to look into Rachel's background. And the report he handed me changed everything. Rachel Winters wasn't just a colleague. She was Vanessa Winters' daughter. Vanessa had been one of Justin's patients 5 years ago. A valve replacement that went horribly wrong. The official story said Vanessa hadn't disclosed a medication she was taking. She died on the table. Justin was cleared. Case closed. But the truth, buried in hospital records Agent Donovan uncovered, was different. Justin had been operating on 3 hours of sleep. It was his 5th surgery that week. He'd made a mistake, and the hospital paid the family off using clinic funds. A year later, Vanessa's husband died of heart failure, stress-related. Rachel was left alone. She changed her name, erased her past, and slowly inserted herself into Justin's world, first as a peer, then as a lover. Her revenge had been in motion for years. Just like mine. I thought about confronting her, even teaming up. But I didn't. Rachel was driven by rage. Unpredictable. Emotional. My revenge had to be strategic. Over the next month, I built my arsenal. Testimonies from former staff. A clear money trail from Mercy General to Hudson and Row to offshore accounts. Sworn statements from affected patients. Donovan built the legal case. And I built something deeper, the destruction of Justin Harper's entire public persona. I recorded one of our co-parenting talks, subtly steering the conversation. We sat in the kitchen of our old home. Neutral ground. Familiar setting. The twins have your eyes, I said lightly, watching him scroll through his phone. Good genes, he muttered. Do you ever worry they might have inherited your heart condition? His eyes snapped up. What? Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, I said, voice even. Dr. Cole mentioned it. His whole body tensed. A vein throbbed at his temple. Cole should keep his mouth shut about things that don't concern him. Don't our kids' medical concerns concern me? I asked. There's nothing to worry about, he said quickly, waving a hand. I had them tested. Years ago. They're fine. I froze. You tested them without telling me? I'm their father. And I'm a doctor. I made a medical decision. The recording had captured every word. His acknowledgement of the condition. His admission that he tested our children without my knowledge. His continued lie pretending he was their biological father. It was the last piece Agent Donovan needed. And the timing? Couldn't have been more perfect. The Pinecrest Medical Center Gala, the hospital's biggest event of the year, was just days away. And Justin? He'd been selected to receive the Physician of the Year award for his groundbreaking work in cardiothoracic surgery and his unwavering ethical standards. The irony was so thick I could have choked on it. The invitation came in the mail, still addressed to both of us. Even with our divorce pending. Justin texted me. Said he'd be bringing Rachel as his date. But I was welcome to attend, if it wouldn't be too awkward. I replied with just the right mix of wounded grace and quiet dignity. I wouldn't miss it. You deserve this recognition. What Justin didn't know was that I'd already met with the hospital board chair. I'd given them a preview of the evidence. Enough to open their eyes and their calendar. A closed-door session was scheduled right before the gala. Agent Donovan would present everything. The forged documents. The financial trail. The testimony. The lies. And while I was preparing my dress, the black gown Rachel had once mocked in a text, I received word that Justin had made a reservation at the Willow Room for after the ceremony. The same restaurant where he proposed to me 15 years ago. Where he swore he'd love me forever. It was poetic. The envelope with the DNA results was sealed and ready. The agents were in place. Every step of this night had been planned. For the first time in months. I felt calm. Justin had spent 15 years building a lie. Tomorrow night, I'd tear it all down. The night of the gala arrived like a scene from a movie. Thunderclouds looming. Sky dark and heavy. But the storm held back, for now. I walked into the hotel ballroom alone. The black dress hugged my figure. Diamond earrings sparkled with every step. My chin was high. My gaze steady. Inside, the room was glittering. Surgeons. Specialists. Donors. Champagne and false laughter. On a screen near the entrance, a slideshow ran in endless loop. Justin shaking hands. Justin with patience. Justin receiving accolades. I took a glass of champagne from a tray and scanned the room. There he was. Near the stage. Arm around Rachel's waist. Her red dress clung to her like plastic wrap, and his smile was smug and polished. He was basking in admiration. Completely unaware that the board meeting had ended just 30 minutes earlier. I'd watched from a side room as Agent Donovan laid it all out. The bank transfers. The altered consent forms. The stories from other families. Sylvia Meyer's journal. The board's faces shifted from disbelief to horror to grim resolve. The legal team had already reached out to the DA. Justin, of course, knew none of this. He was still soaking in the applause. Still believing the narrative he built. I mingled quietly, accepting condolences about my marital troubles from the same women who used to look right through me. So brave of you to come, whispered Linda Barrett, the chief of surgery's wife. Her eyes flitted toward Justin and Rachel. I wouldn't miss seeing him receive the recognition he deserves, I replied sweetly. My smile froze her in place. Then the ceremony. Dr. Miranda Lewis, the hospital board chair, took the podium. The crowd hushed. Justin stepped on stage to thunderous applause. He accepted the crystal trophy with a modest little bow. Medicine, he began, his voice dripping with charm, isn't just science. It's a sacred trust. Ethics must guide every decision, every procedure, every moment in the OR. The audacity of it almost made me laugh. I looked at Rachel. Her posture was perfect. Her expression attentive, adoring. But her shoulders were tight. She was acting, just like I had, for years. Our eyes met across the room. And in that moment, we both knew the truth about the man standing under the spotlight. After the applause, they left for the Willow Room, just as expected. I waited 20 minutes, tucked the envelope into my clutch, and followed. The restaurant hadn't changed. White tablecloths, candlelight, soft opera in the background. The maitre d' greeted me warmly. "Mrs. Harper, what a surprise. Your husband mentioned you might join them." "He did? Interesting." Either he was feeling generous, or he was setting the stage for another manipulation. Either way, it was perfect. They were seated at our old favorite table near the windows. A bottle of 1982 Bordeaux sat between them, the same wine we'd shared on our 10th anniversary. It cost more than a month of groceries. Justin saw me first. His expression flickered surprise, then smug amusement. Rachel turned. Her face softened into something that resembled concern. "Elaine," Justin said, his tone silky. "This is unexpected, is it?" I asked, sliding into the seat opposite him. "You told the maitre d' I might come." "A courtesy mention," he said with a smile. "I didn't think you'd actually show." Rachel shifted slightly. "Maybe I should give you two a moment, Please stay," I said, locking eyes with her. "You've earned your place at this table, Rachel. Or should I say, Vanessa Miller." Her face went pale. Justin's smile cracked. His brow furrowed. "What are you talking about?" he snapped. "Vanessa knows. Don't you, Vanessa? Daughter of Rebecca Miller, the patient you let die, Andrew. The one whose heart valve you replaced after a sleepless weekend with another resident." Justin turned toward her, confusion giving way to realization. "Is that true?" She didn't answer. But she didn't have to. I slid the cream envelope onto the table, the one with the DNA results. "Congratulations on your freedom," I said softly. "I think you'll find this enlightening." His hands trembled as he pulled out the paper. I watched it happen, his face twisting from confusion to disbelief to horror. "This is impossible," he breathed, staring at the words like they might change if he blinked hard enough. "Is it?" I leaned forward. "You made sure your sperm was never used during our IVF treatments. You falsified medical records. You lied to me for 15 years about the very existence of our children." Vanessa looked from me to Justin. "What is she talking about?" "Nothing," Justin snapped. "She's fabricating all of this. She can't handle the divorce." "Then you won't mind explaining it," I said, nodding toward the entrance, where Dr. Miranda Lewis stood beside Agent Eric Donovan. "Or maybe save the explanation for the hospital board, the federal agents, or our children." Justin's face twisted in rage. "You vindictive." "Choose your next words very carefully," Agent Donovan cut in, stepping up to the table. "Dr. Justin Harper, you are under arrest for medical fraud, financial misconduct, and violations under the Medical Practice Act." The restaurant fell silent, forks frozen in midair, wine glasses half raised. And then, Miranda writes echoing off marble and linen. Vanessa didn't move. She just stared as her own revenge was overtaken by something far bigger than she'd ever imagined. "You planned this?" Justin hissed as the officer snapped handcuffs around his wrists. "All those months, playing the agreeable ex-wife." 15 years, I replied, my voice calm. "You lived your lie for 15 years. I needed 3 months to take it down." They led him out of the restaurant, past stunned diners, past the maitre d', past the very life he'd so carefully crafted. Vanessa stayed frozen in place, her hand resting near her half-finished glass of Bordeaux. I didn't know about the children, she said quietly. I nodded. I believe you. Your mother deserved justice too. And justice came fast. The story exploded. Medical journals, news outlets, talk shows. Everyone wanted to know how one of the nation's top surgeons could fall so hard, so fast. Justin faced multiple felony charges. His license was suspended. The clinic was shut down. Families poured in confused, heartbroken, demanding answers. DNA testing clinics had waitlists. Attorneys were inundated. Every hidden asset Justin had was frozen. A forensic accountant traced every dollar he funneled through Hudson and Roe. And with that recovered money, a trust was created, one that secured our children's future. Weeks later, after Justin's preliminary hearing, I ran into Dr. Cole in the courthouse hallway. Sunlight streamed through the high windows, casting gold onto the cold marble. Pinecrest is creating an ethics oversight committee, he said, to clean up what's left when they reopen. They want me to lead it. Congratulations, I said. He gave a little smile. Actually, I recommended you for the patient advocacy role. You've got the background in education. And now? The experience. Think about it. And I did. That evening, Sylvia Myers called me. Do you regret it? She asked. Exposing it all? The kids will know eventually. I looked out the window. The twins were kicking a soccer ball across the backyard. Grace sat on the patio steps, shouting out plays like a tiny coach. They'll learn the truth, I said. But that doesn't change who they are. Or how much I love them. Their lives were built on lies. But I chose truth. However painful, however hard. That night, as I watched them sleep, their breathing soft, their hair tousled. In the home I'd fought to keep, I felt something unexpected. Not revenge. Not triumph. Freedom. The perfect illusion had shattered. But in its place was something real. I wasn't living someone else's story anymore. I was writing my own. Messy. Complicated. And finally, mine.